Hello everyone, this is part 13 of What If Naruto and Hinata Had a Kid, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Hinata pulled the children's drinking cup covered in white suds out of the sink to rinse it clean. She heard the television in the living room was now making strange sounds that Yumi was again imitating very loudly. Well, at least she wasn't screeching across the house this time. Mommy, did you hear? I was an airplane. Yumi called from the living room. I heard. Hinata called back, smiling to herself. As her daughter began to imitate a train, her telephone rang. Whipping her hands on her dish towel, she went to answer it. Hello, she said, making her way to the living room to turn down the television. Yumi began to protest, but when Hinata put her index finger to her mouth, locking eyes with her, Yumi was instantly quiet. Good morning, Hinata, sang the voice on the other end into her ear so loud, Hinata could only name one person who would do that. Ino. Ino. Yumi almost jumped on Hinata when she heard the blonde woman's name. Is that Yumi I hear? It's hard not to, Hinata remarked, giving her daughter's signals to calm down. How are you? She said, returning her attention to the phone. I'm good. Hey, the reason I was calling was I'm babysitting Kenji today and I was wondering if you and Yumi would fancy going to the zoo. Kenji has been whining about it all week and I know they're playmates. Let me ask, Hinata said and turned to her daughter. Yumi, she called her daughter's attention away from the television with the cartoon trains and planes. Would you like to go to the zoo today with Ino and Kenji? Not with Kenji, Yumi said, making a face. Taken a bit aback by her daughter's reaction, Hinata had to wonder where on earth she got the ability to hold such a grudge. Yumi would love to go, Hinata said into the telephone, walking back into the kitchen. What time would you like us to meet you there? Let's do it around 11, that way we can have lunch in the park. Okay, 11 it is. Hinata agreed and the two women said the goodbyes and hung up. She walked back into the living room where her daughter held her doll and was watching the television. Yumi, she said, her tone in that mother way she had adopted over the years. Enough television, come on, help me clean up the living room. Obeying her mother, the little girl turned off the television and began to pick up her toys that were scattered around the room. Are you going to the zoo? She asked while Hinata began to fold and gather the assortment of clothes that somehow got into the living room from the bedrooms. Yes, she answered, but I no want to go with Kenji. Yumi protested, her large eyes going into their infamous puppy style. Caving almost too fast, Hinata knelt down to her daughter, brushing some hair behind her ears. I promise, she started. Kenji will be on his best behavior, and if there's anything out of line to my daughter I will deal with him and I'll make sure Ino deals with him too. Promise, Yumi said, now smiling wide. Promise. Hinata agreed, sealing it with a kiss on her daughter's forehead. A pair of pants flew across the small apartment. She lost track of which pair that was, but she didn't care, all she cared was finding a pair that fit. Since when did all her clothes conspire together to shrink on her? Why don't you wear a skirt? Naruto voiced innocently from his spot at his kitchen table. This innocent remark caused Naruto to catch another pair of pants before they hit his face. They were due for their second doctor visit and they were late. Well, Hinata was late because she had spent the last hour trying to find an outfit to wear but nothing fit. She couldn't even call a friend up because by now all her friends were smaller than her. Well, they'd always been smaller than her, but at least she used to be able to squeeze into a pair of pants. Suddenly, frustrated, tired and emotional, Hinata gave up and sat down on the bed, still dressed in a shirt of Naruto's and pajama pants. She took a deep breath and without warning started to cry. The kitchen table almost knocked over and Naruto was at her side instantly. What's wrong? Are you hurt? Is it the baby? Naruto asked, his blue eyes shining with concern. He hated it when she cried, but there was nothing she could do about it. Lately she cried for everything, even not being able to find a clean bra or a spoon. Yes, she managed to squeeze out between sobs. What is it? Naruto asked again. I'm fat, Hinata cried again, throwing a pair of pants across the room. What? Naruto asked, clearly taken aback by his wife's statement. Nothing fits me. Hinata, his voice was cheery. You're not fat, you're pregnant. You're beautiful. He tried to cheer her up, but the only thing that would cheer her up was a pair of pants that weren't maternity. I can't find anything to wear and we're already late. And I'm only going to get fatter. You're not. Yes, I am. I eat more than you. I'm fat and disgusting, and nothing fits me. Hang on. She saw him leave her and got toward the kitchen. She knew he was going toward the phone. She knew who he was going to call, and for some reason this got her even more upset. Don't call Sakura, Naruto. She warned, and Naruto stopped in his tracks. You can't call Sakura every time there is a problem. She is not your mother. Normally such words would never leave Hinata's mouth. Normally Hinata would never get upset. She would never yell hell, she hardly even cried. But this was not the normal Hinata. This was her with a baby and her hormones driving her up the wall. Again, this was something Naruto knew by now, and so did nothing to respond to her. Nothing would make it better. Hinata dropped back on the bed. Gravity taking control of the black fabric pulled it down and allowed her baby bump to be shown to the world. I'm sorry, she said, her face going to cover her hands as she took a deep breath. Her voice cracked and she hiccuped. This was just getting ridiculous. A few moments later she felt a weight next to her on the bed. She felt two hands grab her wrists and take them from her red and swollen face. I always liked you in a skirt. Naruto said, matching eyes with her. You do. I do. She took a deep breath and smiled at him. She married such a wonderful man. Okay. There was no more arguing after that, and in no time Hinata was dressed in a blue skirt that had always been her favorite and her regular jacket. At the doctor's office, because they had missed their regular appointment date, they had to wait for an opening. Hinata saw a few couples look at them and whisper, and was glad Naruto was too busy looking at a pregnancy book with utter confusion to notice. Uzumaki. Hinata stood tapping Naruto on the knee to get his attention. He stood up at once and followed her through the waiting room into the exam room, where they were asked to wait a little longer and the doctor would be with them shortly. What's the point of letting us in, if all we do is wait some more? Naruto complained, sitting on a chair by the window while Hinata sat on the exam table. She was about to respond, but the door opened and Dr. Kyoto stepped in. Good afternoon, she said with a sweet smile. I see you two are a little late. We had some mishaps at home. Hinata admitted with a small blush, but the woman seemed to understand completely. Yes, things do happen. She looked at her clipboard, reading it over. How are you feeling, Hinata? You're in your second trimester now. She gave a small giggle. I assume the mood swings and cravings have kicked in full force. Oh yeah, Naruto voiced from the window, and when Hinata threw him a dark look he innocently looked away. Dr. Kyoto smiled but looked seriously at Naruto. They're nothing to joke about. You need to treat Hinata like a queen, do whatever she wants whenever she says. Mood swings will be intense and you need to do what you can to try and calm her down. A pregnant woman cannot go into too much stress, it's very bad for the health of the baby. Naruto nodded, looking serious. Hinata wanted to say, as inexperienced as he was, Naruto was doing a wonderful job. He calmed her down in ways he knew how to. They may not be the textbook way of doing it by leaving the house altogether, but they worked. Well then, what do you say we start the exam? Dr. Kyoto checked her pulse, her blood pressure and temperature. She even checked the baby's heartbeat with her stethoscope and allowed Naruto and Hinata to hear it as well. She asked Hinata if she experienced anything out of the ordinary or felt there were things she was concerned about. Hinata thought for a moment and shook her head. Those pains had not happened in about a month and a half. Should she really mention them? It seems that everything is going according to plan, Hinata, you should be happy. Though it doesn't look like you're going to be one of those women who are going to be able to hide you are pregnant. The doctor smiled, putting her hand gently on Hinata's stomach. Is there anything else you wish to talk about? Naruto. Hinata said, and Naruto turned to her. Can you excuse us please? There's something I need to say to Dr. Kyoto alone. Girl stuff? Naruto asked with a slightly grossed out look on his face. Hinata nodded and he began to leave the room. When he was at the door he turned back again. Do you want anything while I'm gone? Juice if there's any. There are some vending machines by the nurse's station. Naruto nodded, shutting the door behind him as he left. What is it, Hinata? Hinata looked a bit uncomfortable but took a deep breath. Early on in the pregnancy I had some very intense pains in my stomach. The books you gave me told me of some pregnancy cramps and common pains, but these were very intense. Is that normal? Have you had them since? No, not for a long time. Pregnancy cramps and pains are very normal. They are your body's way of getting accustomed to the new parasite growing inside you. But, intense pains are not to be ignored. If they happen again, please don't hesitate to call me. Normally, if you are dehydrated or low on blood sugar, you can get them, but if they happen out of the blue and are more intense than a simple cramp, I'm sure you know the difference, they can be something serious. How serious? You are a ninja, yes. Hinata nodded. When a girl is trained at a young age to be a ninja, they are in a sense training their boss not to be a woman's body. In terms of having a child, you have in a sense, trained your body not to have children. It is actually quite common for the first pregnancies of my ninja patients to have miscarriages because of this. The pains you experienced might have been just that, but you seem to be doing very well now and you're pretty much clear of the miscarriage scare by now. Should I be worried? Yes, and no. Your body is not used to being treated this way. True, you are used to what goes on in the battlefield and you are used to taking damage and repairing yourself, but your body does not know how to take care of another human being. Nature takes most of it and will lead the way, but for the rest, it's like I said, you trained your body not to have children. Be on guard with the remainder of your time and be extra careful with anything you do. Hinata was about to ask another question, but there was knock on the door and Naruto's head peeked in. Are you done? He asked, and Hinata saw he had 3 drinks in his hand. Yes. Hinata answered, smiling at him, and mouthed the words thank you to her doctor. I believe we are done for today. Dr. Kyoto said, putting her clipboard by her chest. Make sure she is comfortable, Naruto, and make sure she doesn't overdo it. Yes, ma'am. Naruto answered as Dr. Kyoto left the room. He turned back to Hinata, showing her the 3 drinks in his hand. I didn't know what kind you wanted, so I got the 3 you usually get. He showed her the 3 drinks and she picked the orange and pineapple one, leaving him with the other 2. As they were leaving, Hinata heard a giggle behind her. She turned to see the noise of curiosity, but was met by 2 women looking at them and whispering. That's the one they're talking about. Hinata heard one of the women whisper and quickly turned back around. Really, didn't they have anything better to do but still talk about them? Outside the hospital, Hinata reached for his hand. She wanted to hold him. She was sure he heard the talk too, but he was just too sweet not to ever bring it up to her. He never wanted to tell her things that would hurt her feelings. Without a word, Naruto accepted her hand and they walked down the street hand in hand, even with the whispers behind their back. Hungry? Naruto asked, smiling at her as they passed the ramen bar. Hinata looked up and could not help but laugh. Oh, how he was so predictable. Are you? She asked, and in response Naruto tugged her to the bar. She couldn't complain. Yes, she did have the munchies, and for some reason ramen smelled really good right now. Hinata wished she had picked her pants. She wasn't expecting company. Inside the ramen bar they found Sasuke, Sakura, Kiba and Ino already sitting down and eating. It looked like Sasuke and Sakura were fighting and Ino and Kiba were watching the show. Kiba saw them first and waved him over. Still holding her hand, Naruto dragged her over. Whatever Sasuke and Sakura had been fighting about, they both stopped the moment they saw the new couple make their way. Hinata saw Sakura look her away and give a strained smile. She saw Sasuke ignore her completely. While she is used to Sasuke being well Sasuke, she had never gotten one of those smiles from Sakura before. Hey, you two. Kiba's voice broke the tension when they sat down. What brings you into town? Hinata had a doctor's appointment. Naruto offered. How is everything? Ino asked. Fine. Hinata answered, her hand going to her baby bump under her jacket. Ino's eyes followed her and she laughed. Even in your jacket you can tell you're pregnant. Hinata blushed deep red. She hoped the jacket could hide something. Yeah, she said Hinata's not gonna be able to hide she pregnant for very long. Naruto said, now laughing with his friend. I bet without that jacket you look beautiful. Sakura said, her face getting soft again. That's what I keep telling her, but she keeps saying she's fat. Naruto said, and to everyone's surprise Hinata tossed him a dark glare, to which made Naruto apologize without hesitation. Hungry? Kiba said, breaking the new tension. I'm not hungry. Hinata said quickly and everyone was dumbfounded. Hinata was never so Sakura-ish. Hormones, Naruto said to the group and Sakura and Ino nodded. Kiba looked just as confused and Sasuke didn't seem to care either way. What were you guys talking about before? Hinata asked, going for her glass of water the waitress had brought them. Oh, nothing, Sakura said too quickly. Hinata made a mental note to tell Sakura that if she was going to lie, she better do it more convincingly. Naruto's lack of missions. Sasuke panned and everyone went quiet. Whatever tension had filled the room when they entered was nothing compared to the tension that surrounded them now. Sakura was gaping at Sasuke, Kiba and Ino were looking into their empty bowls, Naruto was looking down at the table with a strange serious expression on his face. Is that what you all were talking about? Hinata's voiced quietly. Sakura was quick to defend her boyfriend. What Sasuke means is it's strange not having Naruto on our missions anymore. I mean we're a team and we know Naruto is in a different situation. What I mean, Sasuke interrupted her, is I was wondering why Naruto stopped taking missions. I was in the Hokage office with Sakura the other day and we saw some of the upcoming listings. Naruto's name wasn't on there. It was Naruto's turn to speak up. He looked up with his mask on and looked at his best friend. I made a deal with Tsunade, I don't want to go on missions anymore and leave Hinata alone. She said I could make almost just as much helping her out at the tower. You were doing that before along with you missions and making double. Sasuke pointed out. Hinata had a strange feeling bubbling to the surface of her stomach. It felt like a mix of anger, pain, and embarrassment. Was Sasuke saying what she thought he was saying? Was he really blaming her for Naruto's lack of missions? How could he do that? They already talked about this. This was completely Naruto's decision, she never influenced him on it. Did she? Well, maybe he took it the wrong way that night, was whining she had to be alone for so long, but that was a mix of loneliness, hormones, and missing her own missions. I miss my missions too, Hinata interrupted whatever Naruto was saying, looking directly at Sasuke, who continued to not look her way. How is everything with teammate Kiba? She turned to her friend who seemed thankful at the change of topic. Not the same, Kiba answered. Ino's been kind enough to help us out from time to time. You have? Hinata asked, wondering when she got her out of the loop. Why had no one told her this? Why had her own teammates neglected to tell her about her temporary replacement? That's where we're coming from. Kiba and Shino thought I should train with them a bit to get some teamwork in there. And since Shikamaru is off in the sand and Chuji got sent to the border, I didn't have anything better to do. Nothing better, Hinata repeated. Was Ino saying taking her place was a result of not having anything better to do? Hinata didn't know why, but she suddenly felt very insulted. Ino didn't mean it like that, Hinata. Kiba said, latching onto his best friend's tone. Ino just meant she doesn't really have much to do since her team is currently on other missions and we needed a third party after all. I mean, she can't compare to you, but, you know, it's just. Don't K yourself, Kiba. Sasuke's low voice stopped Kiba's ranting. Hinata understands why Ino is helping out. After all, it's not like she can go back on missions anytime soon. Yeah, Hinata agreed and put on her most believing smile. Being a Hyuga had its benefits. She was raised on fake and believing smiles. She learned them well. It got quiet again. Hinata knew there was tension between her and her friends. She was no fool. She had known things would change. They were different now. Different things set them all apart. They weren't just ninjas together like before. Hinata was a mother now. She had a different call in life now. Something her friends would not understand until they got there too. I'm feeling a bit tired. I think I'm going to head on home, Hinata said and politely excused herself. Naruto stood up with her, but she put a hand on his shoulder. Stay, she said, smiling at him. Let me walk you home. You remember what the doctor said, you can't overdo it. I'm not going to overdo it, Naruto. We live around the corner. Stay with everyone. You haven't even gotten your ramen yet. What about you? You said you were hungry. I was, but the smell of ramen is kind of making me sick now. I'll get something at home. You sure? I'm sure. She pushed him back in his seat and smiled her old Hinata smile back at the group. She waved goodbye and left the building. She wasn't surprised when no one followed her out. Around the corner just before she reached her apartment, Hinata felt her stomach give a grumble and she wished she hadn't stepped out of the ramen bar with everyone else. At least until she had gotten her food, but things were so awkward. How could she be expected to sit and eat in an environment like that? Kiba doing everything he could under the sun to make it sound like Hinata was not being replaced. Sasuke obviously blaming her for his friend's lack of mission activity, which Naruto completely decided on his own. And Sakura, her best friend to be so, not Sakura. Hinata gave a heavy sigh. How much longer was this going to go on? She saw a street vendor and her hunger took over. Remembering she still had money hidden in her pocket, she purchased 3 of what he was selling. I thought you said you weren't hungry. Hinata turned to see a shy smiling Sakura behind her. She was alone, leaving Hinata to think she followed her out, leaving her friends behind. Not for ramen, Hinata said politely but not too kindly to her friend. She paid the street vendor and started to walk away. For some reason she was just mad, and since Sakura was the first person to come her way, it made all the sense in the world for Hinata to take it out on her. Hinata, Sakura said and ran up to catch up with her. About was Sasuke said, what he meant was. I know what he meant, Sakura, Hinata interrupted her friend. Sasuke is just, well, he's still getting used to everything, I mean it's a big shock to him, you know. Coming back to Konoha and then suddenly his best friend, he doesn't know how to react sometimes. I know, Hinata said, and really she did. She had been along Naruto and Neji long enough to know that some men just did not know how to react and therefore did it wrong. Sakura put a hand on Hinata's shoulder to turn her around. Hinata knew her friend was not convinced and her face showed how bad she felt. Sakura, Hinata started with a half smile. You don't have to apologize for Sasuke to me. I know about his friendship with Naruto, I am married to him, he does tell me things. And I know how they're with certain things, I'm not mad at anyone. You're not, because you looked really upset when you left. Hormones do funny things to a pregnant woman. Hinata responded, going back to finishing the last of her treats. Speaking of being pregnant, Sakura had her normal real smile on her face. I would assume with that baby bump nothing fits anymore. Hinata looked down at her stomach poking through her jacket and blushed. We should go shopping, I need some new clothes too. Shopping would be wonderful. Sakura walked Hinata home and the two girls continued a conversation like nothing had ever changed. Maybe she did overreact a bit. Sakura was after all her best friend around, and had already done so much for her. So tomorrow, Sakura said when they reached her house. Tomorrow, around noon. See ya then, Sakura said and waved goodbye as Hinata entered her building. While she waited for Naruto to return, she had time to clean up the mess she had made earlier. She gathered her clothes and stuffed them back into the suitcase where they currently lived for months because Naruto's apartment was just too small for 2 people. She began to wonder where was she going to put her new clothes after she went shopping. Maybe she should talk to Naruto about this before she did anything. As if on cue, the said blonde walked through the door and Hinata smiled at him. He smiled at her, but it was an awkward smile, as if he was still trying to test the water to her current mood. Have a good lunch, Hinata asked, folding up a pair of pants. Her voice was ever pleasant, but that still didn't seem to fully convince her husband. Yes, what about you? Did you eat? Yes. They were quiet for a moment, both unsure of where to take this conversation. When Hinata spoke, so did Naruto, saying each other's name in unison. Go ahead, Naruto said, smiling at her. Naruto, I know you said you didn't want to go on missions, but I think Sasuke was right. You made double what you make now just helping out Tsunade. Yeah, but I don't want to leave you alone. Hinata smiled. He was so sweet. I'll be okay, I was okay the last time, wasn't I? And I have people to help me if something happens. You sure? Of course, Naruto, I know you love going on your missions and I don't want you to stop that just because of me. Whatever Naruto was going to say was cut off by a harsh and sudden knock at the door. Both looked at the other silently, asking them if they were expecting someone. Naruto went to the door and stepped back the instant he opened it. To Hinata's complete surprise, a Hyuga came through the door. It wasn't her cousin, and it wasn't Hanabi, it was one of the main house's errand boys. Hyuga Hinata, he said, his voice robotic. Hyuga Hiashi requests the presence of Hyuga Hinata and Uzumaki Naruto. Hinata could think of words to say, so her husband spoke for them. Now? Naruto asked, confused. Yes, now, the Hyuga said, and left just as fast as he had shown up. When he was gone, Naruto looked at Hinata, who looked like she was on the verge of either crying or going into complete shock. Hinata? Naruto asked, but she stood up on shaky legs. Let's go, Naruto, she answered, making her way to the door. Without argument or question, Naruto followed. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.